What's going on YouTube? This is J Money, and as of today I've reached 200 subscribers. If somebody were to tell me 3 weeks ago that I was going to reach 200, I would have called bullshit on that, because before I made my first World Chalice video, I was sitting at 34 and I was gaining about 2 subs every month at most. And so, I mean, ever since for the past few weeks, this has been a huge jump for me, and I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Now, I do want to continue. However, unlike the other YouTubers, I have no know-how in terms of, basic editing skills and all that other mess that they can do. So, I feel like until I can learn these things, I can only do the best I can. I can only get so far. But anyway, I'm going to do a banlist analysis and meta-analysis. But before that, for those who have been under a rock the whole time, I'll just go over everything. First off, the ban cards, we're going to have the Lithus Sagem, the Dynamite Knuckle, Grand Soul, because FTK's, Brauble and Dryden, rest in peace to the Brauble, and rest in peace to Digesto Emerald, because that also got banned. For those who know exactly why Emerald got banned, let me know in the comments below, please, because that is very, very, very confusing. But that's it for the ban cards. There were like 6 ban cards. A lot of limited cards, though. We had the Rat Pier, the Miscellaneous Source. Nobody really saw that one coming. Ignis Heat, and True King's Return at 1. Dark Hole went down, and Slumber went down, but again, as I said earlier, it would have just been a better choice just to, just reban the Raigeki instead of, dumping one of these down. But to whatevs, Gateway is also back off the ban list. Well, it's on there, but it's limited now, so that's pretty cool. Oh yeah, Danglong also got banned. So rest in peace to Yang Zing Dinos as well. So yeah, limiteds, no extra decks got limited. Semide, it's a pretty good one. We got BLS, I didn't really see that coming. Mathematician, Chadals aren't doing anything right now. So Luster, I was scratching my head on this one because, it's just like, would have rather had the monkey board, but it's okay. Preparation 2. El Shaddai Fusion 2, there was no point in, unless you were going to bring back Construct, Brain Control, Burial from Medidi, Bryonic, TG Hyperlibrarian. It really should have gone back. It should have been at 2 before Links even came out. Like, that's just my personal opinion. It's too late for it to get semi now, but for the Unlimbs, it's a pretty big one. Debris Dragon, Honest, Rescue Cat, Rescue Rabbit, which is everyone's surprise, Witch, Summoner Monk, Ravine, Charge, and the biggest surprise in my book is the Wavering Eyes going from unbanned to 3. I immediately put some Performages and Perform Pals together, and I just decided, instead of just doing that, just throw the shit in the Magicians, and that shit really, really, really cranks out some serious power. But anyway, before I go over the analysis, I want to go over the cards that went by unscathed. For one, Maxi is still in the game. It has not gotten the ban hammer that it so rightfully deserves. Especially with Spirals coming out, only just double Helix, but Maxi should not have been in the game, for the reason being that Struggling Battle is soon to hit the scene, and Maxi will just, and it more or less ensure that your opponent draws into it and basically beat you. But anyway, the ones that are the biggest surprises are Barrage unscathed, Diagram unscathed, and Masterpiece. The freaking Masterpiece unscathed. The Dynamite Knuckle, yes, it was the best. It was the best True Draco that wasn't Masterpiece. However, Masterpiece is still the be-all, end-all, and the bane of a lot of decks. And the fact that you still have Terraforming at 3, Diagram at 3, Masterpiece at 3, means the deck is still very, very much playable, in the sense to where, Return is at 1, which makes the deck fall back on more on Disciples. Heritage will no longer be the best one. Disciples will be the best one. Consistently shuffling and recycling your return over and over and over again. And so here's what's gonna happen. Here's how True Dracos are really gonna play. If we're talking True Draco Demise, True Draco Demise will start focusing a lot more on Disciples. Heritage won't be as good because return is not at multiples. But, you know, we still have Apocalypse at 3. But the whole thing, it's all still there. You're just falling, everything is just going to fall back on Maiden a lot more. You're just going to depend on Diagram to get you your spell and traps. If you don't already have this, Waterfall of Dragon Souls will also start being played. And basically, it's almost as if the deck is just pretty much, it's almost like it's just an instant adaptation at that point. Yeah, Dynamite Knuckle, I mean, yeah, it's still rightfully deserved to get a hit on the ban list, because if that thing resolved a few times, you pretty much just lost. But, you know, the fact that Masterpiece itself is still at 3 is, with 3 Diagram, I mean, if they banned Diagram, Masterpiece at 3 wouldn't be too much of a problem, because you would have to hard draw it or Majesty's Maiden. But not only that, but Zodiacs themselves can still very much play, because now that Trident and Bull are banned, Rapier's at 1. It's not too big of a deal. Rapier is still probably going to be played for its Foolish effect. This Foolish effect was pretty good, getting instant combos. How do I see a Pure Zoo deck being played? I don't think it'll be all as good as, you know, still playing the hybrid, you know, True Draco Zodiacs. And so here's what's going to happen. What's going to happen is now every strategy involving Zodiacs is going to fall back even more on Whiptail. Barrage will be more crucial to stay on the board to keep summoning these things out. To keep pumping up the Zodiacs. Chalk-and-Iron will be used to keep extending and extending more and more. If you're talking a Pure Zoo deck, Thoroughblade will be used a lot more. Combos will be used at maximum to dig out all of the Whiptails. And Tiger Mortar will be used a hell of a lot more at 3s to get the Whiptails and the Thoroughblades out of the graveyard. And if it's a Pure Zoo deck, it will probably turn into a super stun deck like it did in the OCG, to where you just play a bunch of stun, banishing, and all that other mess, and just slow grind with Tiger Mortar, Chalk-and-Iron, and Barrage with 3 combo. But it'll be a little bit better in the hybrid, because granted, you don't have Trident to do all the disrupting, and you don't have Brobble to search for Whiptails. You still have combos. If you hard draw them to attach Whiptails from the deck, you still have the Barrage to dig them out of the deck, as well as Tiger Mortars constantly attaching up as well from the graveyard if you had to if your stuff just so happened to get dealt with. Also, Tinky is still very much at 3, so it's no surprise there. I do believe the hybrid of Zoo Draco will still be a very, very playable deck, which doesn't really change much for this format. Or if people don't see that, if people don't see what I see in terms of how alive the deck still is, because all of their engine cards are still live and kicking. I mean, yeah, they did a good job for banning Trident, but they kept the Masterpiece, which is very, very, very questionable. Invoked is still an engine, so that deck didn't, I mean, it's like the deck didn't go anywhere. So this deck can be playable. ABCs might arguably be the best deck, arguably, depending on how good Zoos and Dracos really are after this list. And even then, so it's all going to be for naught once Double Helix hits the scene. So there's that. The Daigusto Emerald hit again. It was really unexpected, and it affected a lot of decks. It affected a lot of decks, and I don't really recall any degenerate FTK combos involving Emerald at all. Most of the ones I've seen involved Firewall, Grand Soil, Rescue Ferret, and a Predator Plant Scorpio. Most of them, that's what I've been seeing as the common denominators. I haven't really seen Emerald take a hit, nor was Emerald being used in the best decks at the time of the before the ban list struck. So Emerald is a very, very big head scratcher. Now again, as I've said before, with Luster going to 2 and Wavering Eyes going to 3, the Magician Pendulum deck splashed with Performer Pals with the Ariadnes. I threw that deck together with the 3 Ariadnes because Luster went to 2. I threw in a copy of Draco Face Off, and it's actually really, really good in Magician Pendulums. Face Off just gets you just that instant, just 2 monsters for free. No matter where they are, it gets you something in the skill you need, and yeah, that's Wavering Ice is still good. It is still good, but in a Magician Pendulum deck, it's not as good as you may believe, because yeah, searching 1 Pendulum is okay, but you know, if Wisdom Eye's not in your hand, then it's not, you know, all that great, but you can search it, but you know, you could already search it. So you know, Wavering Eyes, I guess, is a little lackluster in the Magician Pendulum deck, but in any other Pendulum deck, let's say you can splash, you know, Performages and Performer Pals in the deck again. You know, you could play Pepe or Draco Pals, as you want to call it, a little watered down, because Daggerman is still Monkey Board 2.0. So I do believe Pendulum decks will make a resurgence. Lightsworn. Charge going to 3 is the perfect opportunity for Lightsworns to come to the forefront. With Debris going to 3 as well, that's kind of good. I mean, the moment Card Trooper comes back off the ban list, ooh, it's gonna be hell. But honestly, going to 3, I think it's okay. Barrel from DD though, that's a real head scratcher because every deck can use it. The only reason why we didn't use it before because it was at 1 and it wasn't worth warranting using the 1-of and not drawing it. If you were going to play 1-ofs, it had to be a broken-ass 1-of, i.e. Raigeki. But dinos themselves, I teetered around with the deck. We lost the Miscellaneous. We lost the Lithogasm, which is kind of stupid, but we did gain something in return. Well, we didn't gain anything, but there is a way to adapt. And I've already done it. You can revolve. The deck falls on more heavily on Logia now. Logias and Dolkas with Conductors. If you still want your Sync 5 plays with your Aeolos, this is the next best thing you can have. This Sasamara, the Dragon of Rebirth. You put this up in Conductor on the board, you pretty much just you just have a guaranteed reborn for your Conductor. If your Conductor gets board, or your whole board gets board wiped, this will just revive Conductor as if nothing ever happened. You can use the effect once again. It's also got a pretty good ass, like Danglong. But the problem I had yesterday when I was doing all the testing with my friends was a lot of times it was a little bit harder to put dinosaurs in the graveyard. 1, because Lithosagem is banned. And I had to fall back on the Fire True King, but I hardly drew it even though I was playing 3. And even if I drew it more often, the fact that Miscellaneousaurus, one of the fire targets with the 1, and Drac Aeolo is played at 1 to 2 now, made it a little bit harder for me to get it off. The time I did draw it, the babies themselves are much more dead in the hand if you can't put up Conductor to blow them out of hand, which means some people would have to resort to playing the Fire King Island build. If you're playing the Fire King Island, Fire King Island, it's pretty good. You get your fire target for your Fire True King, And yeah, the drawback for that field spell kind of sucks, but if you have this dragon on the board with Conductor, it's not too much of a problem. So, not to mention, Back to the Front is still at 3. I started doing that. With the one miscellaneous source problem, though, if I've splashed both copies of Burial from Aditi and 3 copies of Pot of Acquisitiveness, and I don't regret it. I've always managed to constantly have access to miscellaneous source, and I pretty much got advantage, and I kept filling out my grave for double evolution pill, conductor, you name it. And so that it wasn't even bad. It was worth it. Now, what other decks do I see coming back to the forefront with these unlimits? Let's say Rescue Rabbit. I see Evil Swarms coming back because every deck now, except Spirals, except with the exception of Sleeper, is summoning high-level monsters, so Evil Swarms could really do something, and still, it's not so much a going first deck now because Kaijus are still a thing. There's not as many board wipes anymore, but hey, who's complaining? Dino Rabbit itself can come back now because Rabbit's at 3. You have more traps than ever, so you can still go first. Summon your 2 Saber sources, make Logia, set 4, pass. That strategy can still very much work. Granted, Torigai's not at 3 anymore, but who's keeping track when you have a Logia set 4? So that might be an interesting comeback as well. Rescue Cat. I'm on the fence about this one because of its errata though. Maybe X-Saber decks can abuse it. Well, I know they can, but I don't know. Mathematician. I don't know who's really going to use Mathematician in 2017. That's not a Shadal player. Ravine going to 3. It's nice. It's fine, but the 3 best decks currently are probably going to be ABC Buster. Dinos is still playable with the right text, with the right adaptations that I've just went over, and the hybrid can still very much be played. It'll just have to be more stun and more control based in a sense. You can still play True Draco Demise as if nothing ever happened. Granted, Dynamite Knuckle is gone, but you're now falling back on Maiden, and you are now valuing your trap cards. You're going to end up searching your trap cards more and more with your diagram and not recklessly tributing them off. You're going to be selective for of tributing them off because you only have so many disciples. You're going to value your disciples a lot more, as I've said earlier. As I've said before, the last video, pre-preparation rights going to 2, I felt was incorrect. Granted, I believe they wanted to promote Vendreds, but, if it was trying to bring back a little love to Necroz, Charit should have been the one to come back, but, that's just my personal opinion. I just love Charit. Anyway, that should be it for this whole little discussion here. To show that, yeah, there's some things I really do like, and there's some things I don't necessarily agree with, i.e. the Masterpiece still being at 3. Diagram ain't really doing much without Lithosagem, but in the True Draco deck itself, Diagram wouldn't be as much of a problem as Masterpiece wasn't still at more copies than 1 copy. So, let me know what you guys think about this video. I'm still working on my World Challenge deck. I'm working on my Pendulum deck, because Wavering Odds is at 3 and Luster's at 2, and I'm working on my Dinosaurs. And ABCs, they might be the best deck now, but they did receive a nerf because that Emerald getting banned really does suck. It's a hit to almost every deck that had any sort of amount of level force in the deck because it gave us the recursion we needed. At the very least, if you're going to ban Emerald, at least give us something back like the Pot of Avarice. Some sort of way to recur our resources. Because then it's Busters, decks like ABC Buster, yeah, they'll be the best decks in that sense because they're really good at outgrinding if you're not just going off with busters all the time. You have to be careful with your busters now, and you can outgrind your opponent pretty good, and you can fall back on your rank 4s a little bit more before you start going into your busters to win the game. But that's besides the point. Point is, without Emerald, every deck that wasn't True Draco essentially takes a loss. So let me know what you guys think about my analysis. Let me know what you guys think was kind of unfair. What were you guys expecting to be hit, and why? Do you guys think Masterpiece being at 3 with Diagram at 3 is even fair at all, regardless of the other hits? Yeah, the other hits, I mean, you may think the other hits can check the deck, but like Zodiacs, Dracos can adapt because Diagram and Terraforming are still at 3, and you can fall back on other cards. As long as you can get Masterpiece, any way to get Masterpiece, the deck can still play. Not to mention all the other engines, the Spellbook engine, the Invoked engine, the Wind Witch engine, it's all still there. It's all there, so it's as if the deck never left. So, again, thank you guys for watching. This is J Money, and I'm signing out.